The fantasy of total AI. Intelligence is not complete.
Whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, we're usually telling this one big, hopeful story, right? It's a story about creating these perfect, intelligent minds that are just like ours. But what if that's the wrong story? Today, we're going to dig into a totally different take, one that isn't about perfection at all, but about the incredible power of being incomplete. It really all starts with a feeling, doesn't it? I mean, just think about Wally. That little guy, his capacity for love and devotion, it just perfectly captures this ancient human dream to create something, a living being that reflects the absolute best parts of us. And for a lot of people, AI is the technology that's finally going to make that dream real.
And look, this is not a new dream, not by a long shot. It's a thread that's been woven through our entire history. We see it in ancient Greece with steam-powered birds, in these incredible clockwork saints meant to simulate eternal life, all the way up until 1956, when a handful of scientists at Dartmouth finally gave this whole quest an official name: artificial intelligence.
And this was the mission, plain and simple, laid out by one of the pioneers, Marvin Minsky. The goal was crystal clear: replicate what humans do. Build a machine that can learn, remember, and think, just like a person. And that simple, powerful idea has been the engine of the field for more than half a century. So how does a machine actually do that? I mean, how does it learn to copy what we do? Well, it all kicks off with the world around us.
Okay, so picture this. An AI starts out as a total blank slate. To learn a single thing, it needs data, and not just a little, but absolutely staggering amounts of it. Basically, our entire world. All our words, our pictures, our sounds has to be crunched down into a language the machine gets, ones and zeros. Without that data, an AI knows literally nothing.
And this is where the magic, or, the process happens. It's called machine learning. Sometimes we kind of hold its hand. We show it thousands of pictures labeled cat or dog until it gets the pattern. That's supervised learning. Other times, we just throw a mountain of data at it and say, find something interesting. And then there's reinforcement learning, which is basically like training a puppy. It learns by trial and error, getting a reward for a good move and a penalty for a bad one.
And honestly, the results of this whole imitation game have been mind-blowing. Back in 2016, Google's AlphaGo did something many people thought was just impossible. It beat the best human Go player in the world. And Go is a game with more possible moves than there are atoms in the known universe. This was a huge moment. It felt like proof, right? Proof that we were on the right track to creating real machine intelligence.
But wait a second. Let's just pause and ask a really important question here. AlphaGo mastered the statistics, the patterns, the moves, but did it actually understand what it was doing? Does it have any clue it's even playing a game? And that question, well, that changes absolutely everything. Because that question opens the door to a really powerful critique of that whole original dream. A critique that says maybe the entire project is based on a huge misunderstanding of what intelligence even is. So the old story, the one we've been told for decades, is built on this big idea. Some people call it the fantasy of completion. It's this dream that if we just shovel enough data and enough computing power into a machine, it'll eventually get it all. It'll have a total 100% understanding of the world. No more uncertainty, problem solved. But then a completely different school of thought, what we can call left AI, comes along and just flips that whole idea right on its head. It says, no, you've got it all wrong. Real intelligence, human or otherwise, only exists because perfect total completion is structurally impossible. Okay, so get this. This is the crucial part. What if all those weird bugs and quirks we see in AI, what if they aren't problems we need to fix? What if they're actually features? What if they're clues that show us how these things really work? And right here, you can see the two ideas side by side. It's a total clash. On one side, you've got the classic definition. AI is about imitating what people do. On the other side, you have this radical new idea. Intelligence isn't about not having enough data. It's actually built around a fundamental structural gap, something that can never be completely filled. And you know what? This idea of a fundamental limit, it's not some crazy new thing just for AI. We actually see it pop up in other really complex systems. Like in psychoanalysis, right? The human mind is built around the unconscious, the stuff you can never fully put into words. Or in quantum physics, there's always a measurement residue, something you just can't know perfectly. And in AI, that same limit, that same leftover piece, shows up as what we call hallucinations. This totally reframes the whole conversation. AI hallucinations, when a model just kind of makes stuff up, they're not just random glitches. They are the system literally showing you its boundaries. They are that essential gap. And here's the kicker. If you could somehow engineer that gap out of existence, the entire system would just stop working. It would collapse.
So let's be absolutely crystal clear about this. These AI systems, they do not understand. They don't intend. They don't desire. They're not thinking. What they are is unbelievably powerful statistical machines. They are masters of pattern matching. And this is the whole point. It's that lack of understanding, that lack of a conscious mind, that actually makes them so powerful.
Okay, so if the machine isn't thinking, if it doesn't understand, then what's the real danger here? Well, this is where the spotlight turns away from the machine and shines right back on us. Researcher Kate Crawford puts it perfectly. She says that AI is, well, it's neither intelligent nor artificial. It's just a mirror. It's a reflection of the data we feed it, and that data is full of our own stuff, our genius, and yeah, our biases and our prejudices. So, you see, the real threat isn't some Terminator-style Skynet scenario. It's not a rogue superintelligence. The actual danger, the one we're facing right now, is way more subtle and way more human. It's the danger that we will start believing in that fantasy of completion, that will look at the machine and think it's some kind of perfect, neutral, all-knowing oracle.
And once we start believing that, oh man, that's when we get into trouble. We start outsourcing our own judgment to a system that has none. We start making these false claims that its answers are neutral when they're loaded with bias. We start automating inequality, and maybe worst of all, we try to displace our own human responsibility onto a machine that can't handle it.
Because at the end of the day, here is the one thing you have to remember. You can automate a task, you can automate a prediction, but you can never, ever automate responsibility. That stays with us. Period. Which leaves us with this really powerful idea to chew on. Maybe the whole point was never about building a perfect, finished mind. Maybe intelligence, whether it's ours or a machine's, doesn't come from getting everything right. Maybe it only comes to life in the gaps, the errors, the places where something just doesn't quite fit. And maybe learning to embrace that incompleteness in our machines and in ourselves is the most intelligent thing we can do.